What's good, YouTube? It's Justice I Used to Be Paying. Today I'm back with another video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about where Drake goes from here. But before I get into that, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things. It helps me out a ton. We are almost at 30K. After the release of the Not Like Us music video, it finally feels like we're getting past the Drake and Kendrick beef, with Kendrick basically beating Drake's head in to the point in which some people would say it's overkill. Some people are like, oh my gosh, how long are we going to keep playing Not Like Us? Can we please move past this whole thing? And we really haven't seen a rapper publicly humiliated like this probably since Meek Mill and the Drake beef, funny enough. But some people are saying that Drake is done and it'll never be the same and it's over for Drake. And it's never over for Drake. I don't think it'll ever be over for Drake per se, but he definitely is looked at differently after this entire beef. And in my opinion, this is the biggest rap beef of all time between two of the biggest rappers of all time. Not like individually, but two of some of the biggest rappers of all time. And Kendrick pretty much steamrolled Drake. So this is going to have massive effects going into the future, massive, huge ripple effects, but we won't really know what those ripple effects are until we get there, until years down the line. And Drake has taken massive blows before, notably the whole thing with Pusha T, but nothing like this. The road ahead for Drake can be very, very troubling depending on how he handles it. I grew up loving anime and like superhero stories and stuff like that. And some of the best parts of the story, at least in my opinion, is what happens after the big battle. You know, the buildup is great. The final battle is always really cool and really interesting. But what happens after is really where the story can get really, really deep. And especially when it comes to like villains in the story and villains after they get defeated, especially if that villain isn't dead. You look at somebody like the Joker and how he builds himself up after he gets defeated by Batman a billion times, or how in Dragon Ball when they brought back Frieza. And that's kind of the position that Drake is in right now, because Drake is the villain of the story. He is the bad guy. I know, Drake has massive, he's a massive fan base, a whole bunch of fans, but everyone was kind of rooting for Kendrick in this beef. At least that's what it felt like. So Drake is the villain. He is the big bad of the rap game, and he has been defeated, but he hasn't been completely written out of the story yet. We still have a future ahead of us when it comes to Drake. So Drake, the biggest rapper of all time, losing the biggest rap beef of all time, while also losing a lot of his industry friends and having the entire world clown on him. It will be crazy to see. It'll be interesting to see, at least, how he attempts to go into the future after that, because the decisions that he makes going forward from this point on will determine the rest of his legacy. Really it'll determine whether this beef is the end of Drake, whether this beef just kind of proved that his whole legacy was a sham and that really Kendrick could have ended him whenever he wanted to. He just kind of let Drake live for some years, or this is just a moment in time where he took an L. Like every other rapper pretty much takes an L. Every rapper who's been involved in multiple beefs typically takes at least one L. I know people are like, oh, what about Eminem? Eminem took an L to Mariah Carey, low key. So every rapper who's been in multiple beefs ends up taking an L here or there. And even somebody like Jay-Z, who took a massive L in the Nas thing, that doesn't define his legacy. Nobody's like, Jay-Z can't be the greatest rapper of all time because he lost to Nas. I mean, some people might say that, but for the most part, that's not the consensus. That's just a moment in time where he took an L. So Drake's decision-making going forward will determine whether this is kind of a legacy ruiner. This beef kind of tarnishes everything that Drake has kind of done, which is a little ridiculous, but that's kind of just how things work, or this is just a moment where he takes an L. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to be making decisions like I'm on Drake's team. Like, I'm telling him what he should do, and he's just going to listen to me because, I don't know, like, why wouldn't you listen to the YouTuber with 29,000 subscribers and telling you what you need to do in your career as the biggest rapper ever? Why wouldn't you listen to that guy? That makes perfect sense. So in this video, I'm just going to be like going through things and telling you what he probably should do and what he probably shouldn't. First things first, you just got to leave Not Like Us alone. I'm sorry. You just got to take the L there. Sometimes you got to know when you just take the L. All right. You got to know when to just move on from certain things. And Not Like Us is one of those things. You just got to let the song die down. And I know right now it seems like the song is never going away, but just like everything else, it's going to eventually die down. And so don't release anything until it dies down. All right. Because as soon as Drake releases something like in the foreseeable future, like right now, the entire response is just going to be dun, 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 dun. He a fan, he a fan, he a fan. So just let Not Like Us die down. It will eventually. People will get sick of the song. They'll still like it, but it's not going to be played every 20 seconds like it is right now. And Also, let's just say hypothetically for this video, I have a time traveling device, some sort of portal, something like that. I'm going to go back like a week or two ago, 2 weeks maybe, and we're not releasing music with Camila Cabello, all right? And it's not because it's pop music. That's fine. Drake does his pop stuff every now and then, but Camila Cabello might have possibly been the worst person to release music with right now at this instant. Obviously, I'm referring to, if you don't know anything about Camila Cabello, she's, a pop singer. She was in the group Fifth Harmony, and she had some controversy a couple years back because people found some old like Tumblr posts. If you remember that platform, maybe you're too young for that, but if you remember that platform, and she was saying like a bunch of crazy racist stuff, like crazy stuff. She was a little kid, not like a little kid, but she was like 15, 14, something like that. So she was young. She was really young, but she was saying some wild stuff on Tumblr, like super racist, and obviously people called her out for it. So Drake dropping music with, a girl who's been called racist and labeled racist while coming off of a beef where a large portion of the beef was talking about his potential like racial identity issues and issues that he has with his own blackness. Like, that's just a horrible decision. And I know that this was probably lined up a long time before the songs actually came out, but man, like, if there was any list of artists to drop music with right now, she would be at the absolute bottom. And, maybe she's changed. She was young. She was a teenager. And I'm sure if we had, track records and breakdowns and background checks on every non-black artist from when they were a teenager, we'd find a lot of stuff that we wouldn't like. All right, let's just say that. But, it's just bad. All right. It's not a good look. It's a horrible look. And again, yeah, it was when she was 15, but you got to look at the circumstances. So if Drake really is sending out cease and desist, like everyone's saying, like Metro said, like Rick Ross said, like he sent a cease and desist to stop a song with French Montana from coming out, he should have sent one to Camila Cabello. Whatever Drake decides to do musically, he has to do it completely independent of what Kendrick Lamar said about him. Whether he's doing it in spite of Kendrick or because of what Kendrick said. Kendrick said that, Drake's a colonizer. He steals from different cultures, specifically Atlanta, and he steals like young artist swag. And he also said that he likes Drake with the melodies. He doesn't like when Drake acts tough. Drake has to operate without any of that in his mind. So I don't want to see Drake go on an Atlanta feature spree just to be like, see, look at me. You said I'd use Atlanta. Well, I'm doing features with Atlanta. They rock with me. No, I don't want to see that. I don't want Drake to make hits. And in his hits, he's talking about, I don't need nobody else. This is just me. I don't need nobody's culture. I'm doing this all on my own. I don't want to hear that either. He has to do whatever he's going to do without any thoughts of Kendrick Lamar. It has to be completely independent of that. It has to be like, that's just water under the bridge. It doesn't really matter what Kendrick said. We're just moving past that. Okay, so if he does a feature with an Atlanta artist, it just happens to be that way. If he makes a song where he's singing, okay, but I don't want to see an on purpose effort of Drake doing things like working with Atlanta specifically just to prove Kendrick wrong, I guess, or singing the songs just to be like, oh yeah, you like the melodies. Well, now, like, I don't want to see that. And I kind of fear that that's what Drake might do because he is extremely, extremely petty. And don't get me wrong, people are going to say whatever he's doing is because of Kendrick regardless, but it has to be something where it's like not super obvious. Of course, people are going to say that if he makes a singing song, it's because Kendrick told him to sing. And if he makes a rapping song, it's going to be because he has to prove himself as a rapper again. Like, people are always going to say these little things about Drake after he lost the battle, but he has to make it to where it's like kind of a stretch where you're just saying that just because you're a Kendrick fan or you're just saying that because you don't like Drake. It has to be something where it's like Drake is just doing his thing and you're just connecting the dots at home on your own rather than him putting the dots out there for them to be connected. He kind of has to act like this is no big deal. Kind of like how LeBron after the Lakers, I think they lost game 3 or game 3 or 4 to the Nuggets this year, I think. And he just said, hey man, it's basketball. It's just basketball.
And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
And now, obviously, everyone was roasting LeBron for saying that because it was massive cope. It was cope. That's what LeBron was doing. He was coping. But Drake can kind of do the same thing and just be like, hey, man, it's just a rap beef. Not worried about what Kendrick said. It's not that deep. And just move on. That's the best course of action, to act like you're unbothered. Because otherwise, if you're feeding into it after you already lost, it's just going to continue to get worse and worse. And after Not Like Us finally dies down, Drake desperately needs a hit. Like, he needs a hit like a fish needs water. And luckily for me in this scenario, Drake is an artist that can pretty much make a hit doing whatever. He's always dropping hits. And it doesn't matter really what type of song it is. It doesn't matter if it's a hype rap song, if it's a love song, if it's a dance song, if it's a rap feature, if it's a pop feature. It really doesn't matter what type of hit it is. He just needs some sort of hit, in my opinion, after Not Like Us finally dies down, like towards the end of this year. And honestly, if I could pick in a vacuum, I would have it be a song like a One Dance or a Nice for What, where it's a dance song and it's cool, it's kind of poppy, but everyone can listen to it. Not just hip hop fans, but everyone as a whole can kind of listen to it throughout music and get that support from literally all fan bases, because right now, in my opinion, Drake needs the casual fan support. He doesn't need the diehard fan support because he never really got that in the first place. He never really got love from diehard rap fans, at least not like a Kendrick. And they're never going to be the ones defending Drake. Diehard rap fans are typically very anti-Drake, so they're not going to be the ones taking up for Drake after this battle and being like, yeah, he lost, but this song is great, and this is a great comeback. No, that's not what the diehard fans are going to be. He needs the casual fans for that. So if I could pick in a vacuum for him to have a hit after whatever happens with Not Like Us, and I could pick which type of song it is, it would be a One Dance type of song. It would be a Nice for What, where it's a song that appeals to everybody and not just specifically rap fans. The goal of Drake getting a hit after Not Like Us dies down is to kind of get like the NPCs on his side, kind of get like that fan of music. Probably not any of the people watching this video, because you're probably a pretty big fan of music if you found this video. You want to get the people who leave those kind of weird NPC comments on YouTube. And the goal is to get those comments that say, wow, Drake, he may have lost that beef, but you can't deny that this song is a hit. Or, man, Drake lost the beef, but he's always making hits. That's just what he knows how to do. And man, Drake really came back from 3-1. And I can't believe everyone really said that it was over for Drake. Man, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Drake's always going to make hits. Or, Drake may have lost the rap beef, but he's always going to be an all-time generational hit maker. Or, use this comment as the I never switched up on Drake button. After Drake gets that hit, I need him to take a break. And I mean specifically a break from projects, because Drake has been working at a crazy pace since 2021. In 2021, we got CLB. Then after that, we get Honestly Nevermind. And then after that, we get Her Loss. And after that, we get For All the Dogs. And then we get a For All the Dogs Deluxe. And then he also has 2 tours during this time span. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. And that's a crazy pace. And Drake's work ethic is a massive part as to why he is the biggest rapper of all time. It's a big part of the reason why, but at the same time, it doesn't matter who you are. When you drop as much as Drake has dropped, you're going to start diluting your product a little bit. And I think that has happened with some of Drake's projects over the last couple of years. They're not of the quality that you expect from a rapper that's an all-time great like Drake. Drake needs to go away for a while and really take his time on a project and recharge his batteries and come back with something fresh and something that's almost universally good, where everyone's like, all right, that is a good project. That's a good Drake project. So in my ideal world, he doesn't come back until like the end of 2025 with a project at the earliest. Really, ideally, like spring 2026 going into summer of 2026. And I know that sounds really crazy for Drake, but it's really not that long. It's only 2 years. And as we see with a lot of other rappers, that's not a crazy time in between projects. Like Travis Scott waited 5 years between Astroworld and Utopia. We know about Kendrick and how long his breaks are between his albums sometimes. And 2 years really just isn't that crazy. It is for Drake, I will admit, because he has a crazy work ethic, but 2 years isn't the longest time period in the world. And of course, Drake's never going to be completely gone in between projects. He's still going to be, doing features here and there and, probably putting out a single here and there just because he has a crazy work ethic. But in terms of projects, I really think that he needs this break. And I think that we, as the fans, also need this break from Drake in terms of his projects, and I think that would be good for both sides. I honestly think that's why a lot of people, specifically fans, I'm not talking about like rappers and stuff, but I think that's why a lot of people have started to turn on Drake. Honestly, that might be why some of these rappers have turned on Drake now that I think about it, because we're tired of him. People are just, in general, tired of Drake. He's been in our face every single day for the last 15 years of rap. That's a really long time. Nobody else has really ever had that level of consistency and that length of a run at the top. Nobody's ever done that for 15 years, 10, longer than 10 now at this point, like 12 years at the very, very top of the rap game. That doesn't happen. People have long runs, yes, but not as number one for this long. And Drake has been number one for this long. People are just tired of him, bro. They're sick of him being in their face every single day. And I think that's why a lot of people turned on him. So that break would be good. It would be good because it would make people actually want to hear what Drake has to say. Like, man, Drake has put out a couple songs ever since, the end of the beef. And, he had that one hit, that one song, that was cool. And that other song, but like, where's the project? I wonder what he's going to have to say on this project. Like, that'll be really interesting. And I think that he can kind of build a little bit of that, fondness back. He can build some of that fondness because, what's the saying? Distance makes the heart grow fond or something like that. Drake has just been all in everyone's faces for so long. As rap fans, most of us are just sick of him, especially when it's someone like Drake who's kind of unlikable to a lot of rap fans. This is just the perfect time for him to take a break. Right now is the perfect time. You can still put out music here and there, but it's a perfect time to take a break for a project. And more importantly, though, when he comes back, it needs to be good. It needs to be something really, really good because people are going to be interested if he ends up not dropping for a while. Because no matter what really is going on, good music wins. Like, as long as you drop something good, people will pretty much be on your side. Yet this could also end up going really, really bad for Drake. He could end up really crashing out and flaming out after this beef, where it ends up that this really kind of marks the end for Drake and his career never recovers. If Drake tries to come back immediately and let's just say on a Quavo song, he's rapping about how, the A loves him and is basically home to him just to kind of spite Kendrick like he did when he said the N-word a billion times on Family Matters. It just might end up bad for him. Oh, the narrative will be, Drake can't move on from the beef and Kendrick is still rent free in his head and he can't let go and you lost, low bro, just move on. Like, if Drake kind of moves in a way that's spiting Kendrick, like, I just got to prove him wrong, this could end up pretty bad for him. Or if Drake, rushes into a project and let's just say he drops it towards the end of the year and it ends up being kind of mid, people are going to say he's not the same after Kendrick. Kendrick ruined him. Kendrick pretty much ended him with Not Like Us. And if Kendrick then drops his album, which has been rumored to be coming out anytime now after this whole beef with Drake, if he drops his album and it ends up being really good, which it probably is, I don't see a reason why Kendrick would drop a bad project, but if he drops a project and it's really good, it will also probably be the biggest project of Kendrick's career, numbers wise at least. Like, it'll probably do crazy coming off of this beef and the whole Not Like Us and the music video. Like, it'll be huge. And if he ends up with a really, really high selling album and a really good album, and Drake dropped a very, very mid album, and of course, Drake's album's still gonna sell really, really well, but they might be a lot closer than what people expect, or at least what Drake might expect. And his dominance as number one even might start to be in question. I'm not saying that, Kendrick would just outsell him and be the number one. It might, though. It might. Like, I don't think that's ridiculous for me to say at this point that a Kendrick album coming out right now, as hot as he is, dropping, could be at least relatively close and threatening Drake's albums in terms of numbers. Because when you really look at this beef, I know it sounds like I'm coping when I say this, but Drake was expected to lose. Like, Drake, in most people's opinion, going into this beef, was going to lose. A lot of people didn't even think that he would initially respond after like that. So him losing isn't really the surprising part. I mean, I guess maybe him being dominated the way he was is kind of surprising, but for the most part, nobody's really surprised that he lost the beef. But if he comes out of this situation with mediocre music and, he's already not going to be looked at the same after this beef, but we could be living in a world where not only did Kendrick beat him in a beef, but Drake's numbers aren't as crazy as they used to be. He might have been brought down a little bit. Now, obviously, he's still going to be a top seller. Obviously, he'll probably even still be number one. But there won't be that massive gap that there is between Drake and pretty much everyone else right now. That's the one thing that Drake has had on everyone, not just Kendrick Lamar, but literally everyone when it comes to rap. His universal appeal in his music. That's what makes him such a worldwide phenom and why his numbers are so far apart from pretty much everyone else in the rap game. But if that's not the case going forward, if, Drake's been brought down to everyone else's level, and let's just say Kendrick beats him in terms of numbers and I guess universal appeal, then man, this beef might have actually really ended Drake. Or at least ended Drake's run at the very, very top of the rap game. But I think all of this will be super interesting to see how it plays out. I honestly can't wait. If I could like sim 2 years forward just to get like the kind of vibe on everyone's vibe on Drake and what's been going on with his career since the whole beef, I would love to do that just to pop in and see what's going on, just to come back. But I think this is going to be very, very interesting to see play out. I don't know what Drake's going to do from here. I don't know how he's going to turn this around, but I have a feeling that Drake might be able to turn this around. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. If you made it this far, I greatly, greatly appreciate you. Please, please, please make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. Have a good day. Be safe. Be blessed. I go by the name of Pay. Peace.